If you like seeing juniper, sage, aspen, ponderosa, and larches on the same ride, 360-degree views into central and eastern Oregon, as well as fun and techie downhill with 3,100 feet of descent, then you came to the right place. But is Lookout Mountain in the Ochocos, is it snow-free by Memorial Day? Let's find out. But first, don't forget to like and subscribe, as well as leave a comment at the end of this video when it's done. Also, make sure you navigate to my Patreon page. The more attention and direct support I get from viewers like you, the more of these reviews I can make. Also, stick around to find out whether this one is canonical or not. Located in the Ochocos Mountains just east of Prineville, Oregon, ridden as a shuttle, the Lookout Mountain Trail nets you 1,700 feet of climbing over 10.9 miles with a satisfying 3,100-foot descent back to the bottom after the lookout for a one-sandwich ride you should be able to complete with 2 liters of water. But bring more water than you think you need. There is literally nowhere to filter water from on this whole ride. Don't take your beginner friends on this, and intermediate riders will be at the end of their frustration tolerance, but advanced and expert riders will leave with a big smile on their face. We started the ride by driving a shuttle vehicle up the 42 road to the parking lot where the Round Mountain Trail meets with the Lookout Mountain Trail. We found the actual start to the Lookout Mountain Trail here across the road, and it's worth noting that from here the trail doesn't waste any time getting nice and steep. There is a way to avoid about 400 feet of this initial climb if you're interested. Just stick around and I'll tell you more about it. This ride starts out at over 5,000 feet in elevation, and you'll notice it if you're a lowlander like me. One thing you'll miss if you decide to skip over the first climb is some of the densest forest you'll see on this ride. The trail surface is crispy Central Oregon forest trail surface. It's what you'd expect to find on a moderately trafficked mountain bike trail that's practically in the middle of nowhere. I really liked how park-like the forest is in here, with wide open understory and the butterscotch aroma of ponderosa everywhere. The forest alone makes this climb worth it. You'll also see juniper, lodgepole, grand fir, larch, aspen, and a couple other species of trees I failed to identify. We encountered some route finding confusion in this little area where folks were dispersed camping, but using the TrailForks app, we were eventually able to sort it out and found the trail continuation right here. When we encountered this intersection, there was a choice between continuing on the Lookout Mountain Trail, which is a black diamond, or taking the Mother Lode cutoff, which was labeled as a blue. We took this left and proceeded up the Mother Lode cutoff. This is also where we encountered this parking lot that would have removed 400 feet of climbing had we parked here. It's also prettier than where we parked, for whatever that's worth. Anyway, the trailhead for the Mother Lode Mine Trail is easy to find from this parking area. The Mother Lode Mine Trail quickly finds and follows an old road grade for most of its distance. This road grade is very steep, even considering sections where we opted to push our bikes. It's just typical old road grade, nothing special. It also gains 800 feet over a mile, so it is significant. Occasionally, the trail passes by these clearings that are kind of pretty and open, but I recommend you don't spend too much time here because the less you tromp around in them, the better chances the plants will have of recolonizing them. Besides, they're just a pale, sad imitation of the much better view you're biking to. These aren't the main attraction. Ride on. Once you get to this field of sage, you're getting pretty near the top. You're also around 6,000 feet elevation now, and you're probably feeling it in your lungs. This intersection leads to a short trail over to a snow shelter. Go look at the snow shelter because it's kind of cool.
Cooperative project by Oregon Army National Guard, 1249th Engineer Battalion, and U.S. Forest Service, June 1989. And it looks like it's gotten continuous maintenance.
Yeah, for sure.
It even has a barrel stove in it. Moving on from the snow shelter, you'll soon arrive at the top of this ride and the view that all the hikers are here for. From up here, there's a clear view out to all of the Central Oregon Cascades as well as all the way up to Mount Hood. Turning to the east, you can see out into eastern Oregon as well, so this lookout is well situated to give you a pretty decent idea of what the area northeast of Bend looks like. Stop and eat your sandwich here because this is the end of most of the climbing. Continue north, following the trail for more epic views of epic Central Oregon scenery. Also, the trail wastes no time getting technical and gnarly here. This is the best of what ridgeline riding has to offer. The only problem I kept encountering here was that the scenery was so gorgeous I had to keep stopping the bike so I could just gawk and take pictures. Is your suspension dialed in? Well, if it's not, you're going to find out real quickly on this descent. It's full of rocky chunder for the next few miles with some super tight switchbacks and lots of piles of loose rock. I was very pleased with myself for not bringing my hardtail on this ride. But seriously, this is the kind of techie gnar that's just as challenging as any trail in Canada, which was a very welcome surprise because this is very different from what I've usually encountered in Central Oregon. This is the anti-Phil's trail. But it is still Central Oregon, so after the initial descent, things do straighten out and speed up a little bit, but not to the point that you can let your guard down. It's more that it just turns into a much more ripping fast piece of classical single track. This is one of those sections of trail that was built for hikers a long time ago, but because it continues for miles along a super fast, techie, and fun grade, but without ever really opening up to big vistas and exposures that hikers would like to see, it kind of gets overlooked by most people on foot, so it's almost perfect for mountain bikers. And then the trail just does a whole bunch of this magical cruising through more park-like stands of ponderosa forest for what felt like miles over tread made crispy with big ponderosa needles and more of that intoxicating butterscotch aroma. At about the 7.5 mile mark, there's a little transfer where the trail gains about 300 feet over a half mile. It's not horrible, but you'll notice the break and flow. Then the trail just starts ripping through that same park-like ponderosa forest again. There's like one more little transfer here, and then it's just more of this cruising as the tread gets a bit sandier and less crispy, and the trail starts to get swoopier. I rode this on Memorial Day weekend, and as you can see, the trail was already getting dusty. So keep that in mind when you plan a trip here. Be ready for dust. Enjoy the off-camber in some of these sections of trail. This is just a certain kind of magical you can only find in the Ochocos, and I felt like I was lucky to have encountered this. Speaking of off-camber, things really get interesting on this last and steepest portion of the descent as the bench gets much tighter into the steeper side slope and cambers with the slope and against the rider due to the soft nature of the soil. I found myself really leaning out against that camber and into the hillside to keep the bike on the tread and away from calamity. This is where I could feel myself really riding down and inside the bike frame to manage all these wonderfully swoopy turns. This is so different from the top and middle of the trail and yet so much fun. And so, due to the amount of variation in both terrain, different types of tread, grade, and just the uniqueness of the landscape here, I'm canonizing this trail. It's another one you need to come ride just to get a good taste and understanding for the range of what Central Oregon can offer. The steepness and the radness on this trail continues right until it meets up with the road. This parking lot at the bathrooms here is a great place to leave the shuttle vehicle. So good. So very, very good. I loved this trail. You will too. Or you should. I don't know, have you ridden this trail before? Do you think it belongs in the canon? What's your favorite trail to ride in Central Oregon? After you like or dislike this video, these are questions I would love for you to answer in the comments section. Leave me comments. I actually really honestly do love your comments and I read them. And let me know what you think. I want to hear your opinions. I'd like to thank all my Patreon supporters, especially my Loamy Goodness and Hero Dirt level sponsors Damon Corey, Randy Relaford, Ty Morgan Marbett, Heather Van Valkenburg, Jason Moore, and Pedro Cantarini. If you'd like to join the patrons on this list, navigate to patreon.com/voiceovertrails or just click the link in the description to this video to sign up to support this work. Now, get out there and go ride your bike.